Hello and welcome back to Marketplace Tech's limited series Decoding Democracy, where we're looking at mis and disinformation in the 2024 election. I'm your host, Lily Jamali. On this week's episode, we'll be taking a look at how deep fakes have emerged online in China. I'm joined this time by Marketplace China correspondent Jen Pak. She's based in Shanghai. Jen, so good to have you back.
Thanks for having me on here.
Well, we are going to be looking at some of the reporting that you're right in the middle of right now, and a recent trend that you and other journalists have clocked on Chinese social media over the last couple of months. Really interesting stuff. This is all about AI deep fakes of Westerners being used to sell stuff online. And here's one of the examples that you gathered. Let's take a look.
一个人在钱方面出现了问题，他可能多数会在其他方面也会出现问题。财务上紧张。
We see a very shiny deep fake of actor Chris Evans there. What are we looking at here? What is this?
So the title of this video is what happens when a man doesn't have money or has money problems. And so he's saying in Chinese that, you know, if a man has money problems, he's going to have problems in other areas of his life. But if he gets his finances right, he's going to be all right. He's going to be more patient, less irritable, more generous. Supposedly, I'm guessing the audience is for women.
I would think you're correct about that. The celebrity on all sides of the globe, I think. You know, I have to ask you, this seems like just one example among many, and it sounds like you're seeing a lot of these deep fakes of celebrities. Why do you think we're seeing this trend right now?
So late last winter, I would say, these videos of foreigners started popping up. And those include even former Trump advisor Peter Navarro and other foreigners, including influencers who have said they found their likeness or their deepfakes being used in China. Often talking about topics like you just saw about life, career advice, love advice, and you know, Russia-China relations and how good they are. We think it's because these topics are quite safe because China's internet is heavily censored. These are safe topics. And the whole point is for these accounts to grow their audience, to get more followers. And we think eventually they want to push products to get people to buy stuff from them. So that's sort of what we think is the purpose of it. But what's more interesting is that a lot of times, okay, Chris Evans is an anomaly, I think. A lot of the others that we saw are lesser well-known foreigners, like Peter Navarro. Okay, maybe if you follow a lot of politics in China, but you don't actually really know his face. Others are included journalism professors in the US who have been identified.
Yeah, I mean, Peter Navarro is a really interesting example. Probably a lot of people here would recognize him. He certainly had his 15 minutes, but I would imagine in China, that's maybe not so much the case. And let's talk about this, you know, even lesser known than somebody in the political milieu like he was. The journalism professor that you mentioned is Andrea Gabor. She's a Bloomberg professor of business journalism at Baruch College. There's a deep fake of her now making the rounds. Let's take a look at that video.
A longtime business writer, management writer. And at the start of the Bloomberg administration, a wonky business magazine asked me to write an article.
So that's her on the left in a real interview that she did with the Institute for New Economic Thinking. And then on the right, we're going to play another one. This is a deep fake version of the same person. Let's watch.
老铁们一定要尝一尝这个。西方国家说不跟俄罗斯交易了，不卖给俄罗斯人东西，对于俄罗斯来说影响不大。
And Jennifer, I do not speak Mandarin, but it sounds like she is talking about honey. Is that right?
Yes, Russian honey. Saying that
honey.
because a lot of the trade has been cut off with Russia. Yeah, so because a lot of the trade has been cut off with Russia, she's saying, you know, it doesn't matter because China is a good friend and a good trading partner for Russia, so they're fine. That's it might sound a bit bizarre, but I have to say there is a bit of a novelty factor, and an AI expert we spoke to confirmed this, saying that, you know, if you are fighting for people's attention, the best way is novelty. And in China, what's more novel than a foreigner speaking in perfect Chinese, as you can hear, about a foreign product? Now, you know, Chinese viewers probably don't know this professor. I mean, I didn't really know her either until
neither did
until
I.
The Shanghai Exactly. The Shanghai, the paper, this media had identified her, luckily, but it's actually really hard. But a natural person in China probably would just assume, hey, this is a foreigner, possibly a Russian, because they're talking about Russian products and they're selling honey. So maybe this is good quality honey. So there's that kind of trust factor, I think, that goes into it.
Very interesting. And you actually spoke with Professor Gabor after all of this. You shared the deepfake with her. My understanding is she didn't know that this was out there, that her likeness was being used in this way on Chinese social media. What was her response when you shared this information with her?
She was shocked because, for one, there is a barrier between the internet here in China and the US, okay? And if you know, apps today, especially short video platforms, they don't really let you use it on the computer. So if she didn't have an account, it's kind of hard to look into it. And she recognized that that was her right away because of that very distinctive blazer she has on. She said that that was one of the rare occasions she wore that. And so she recognized it and said, I cannot believe that that is happening. She, of course, doesn't understand Chinese, so she was pretty shocked, and has nothing to do with Russian honey or anything else that she's been peddling. But we found at least 12 or 13 accounts between the Chinese sister site Douyin and also on the video platform Kuaishou of her on there. And a lot of these videos are very similar. The script is almost written, by AI chatbots, so they all sound the same. But she's surprised because it's actually in her own voice. She said it sounds like her.
Yeah.
So her bigger worry is not so much, that it's in China because, she's not around here, but, what could this actually mean? What could this material potentially be used for, especially in the context of the US election? I know a lot of people are very worried about that, and she is too. And she's worried because there are huge geopolitical tensions, especially between the US and China. And she wants to know whether this might have some impact. And she mentioned the fact that, okay, she's speaking Chinese in this and she sounds extremely fluent. It sounds like her voice. What if she was speaking in another language, that her friends know she speaks, like perhaps Hungarian? Could that fool her loved ones and her friends? Maybe her employers.
Because she does actually speak Hungarian. So that would be a very different thing for her circle to be watching her in a deep fake context there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of troubling for her, but I'm glad she actually got back to me because I think she might have thought I was a bit of a kook trying to scam her, telling her face is showing on social media. So she was shocked.
Wow. You are not a kook, Jennifer, for the record. You heard it here first. I'm really looking forward to the reporting that you have been doing, seeing that come out over the next couple of weeks and months. And we're going to be posting all of it on marketplacetech.org. So thank you for that. We're going to sort of stick with this topic, but move on to a discussion of online mis and disinformation inside of China. There are no elections this year to speak of in China, and we don't hear that much about the political process under the single party system there. But I do have to ask, how big of a problem, Jen, would you say that online mis and disinformation has been in the political process? Has it reared its head yet?
Oh, definitely. I mean, like I said, social media has been a headache for the governing Communist Party. And so they're very vigilant about shutting down any kind of accounts on topics that they do not like. So it's, by extension, they've come up with regulations to deal with AI deepfakes. First of all, they said that it is illegal to use someone else's content without their explicit permission. But again, how can they govern that if they're using foreigners' likeness who won't even access Chinese social media? How would they have known? How can they complain? Right. We have noticed, though, in the last few months that a lot of these accounts, including the one with the journalism professor, they actually have a little sign on the top of the account saying that this information or the information on this account has been generated by AI. That's slightly different. It's getting closer, but it doesn't say it was without the consent of the person themselves. But it just goes to show how widespread this technology is and how cheap it is, because this AI expert we talked to said that this technology has existed since 2017. It's only now that it's cheap enough for people to use it. So if you look at the previous videos that we had, all of them are front facing. It could have been done with just a very short snippet of video or even a photo, and then they can animate it, right? But you're going to get more sophisticated ones where maybe they're turning their head or they're moving around. Maybe they're in a different background that they've never visited. So it's going to get a lot harder for people to discern. And the Chinese government is worried about that. But I have seen that sometimes the government is using AI to their benefit in terms of government media. They've been using reporters to deliver these short explainer videos, and suddenly they're speaking pitch perfect English. So it's the reverse, right? So
wait. They're doing the educational videos in AI as well?
News. They're doing news, but they're because they have a lot of English language divisions of the government media arm, and then that's supposed to be for the foreign media audience, right? So yeah, these reporters are speaking perfect English.
Very interesting. So Jen, real quick, do you get the sense that these regulations are working as designed by the Chinese government?
Well, the local police have said that they have cracked down, arrested more than 500 people since last August, and they have cracked like a few dozen cases. They haven't explicitly said what they were concerning, but I think most of them revolved around fraud. Because if you think about it, that's the biggest issue they're worried about, is that if you use someone's likeness, can you fool the bank? Can you fool medical insurers? Can you fool your family members? And in fact, the AI expert even told me that that was his biggest concern, that he feels that there are good uses for AI technology, because he's an advocate of it, but he can see the potential downside. So he actually has a code word with his family to make sure if they ever see a video, like if they're video calling and he's asking for something very sensitive or secure, like about finances, what's the code word they should ask, just to make sure that this is the real person that they're talking to and not the AI version.
Absolutely. I feel like everyone needs to have one. Every family. Get your code word straight. It's really important. Jennifer Pak, a Marketplace Shanghai correspondent. Thank you so much for all the great insights today.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks to all of you for joining us for another episode of Decoding Democracy. New episodes drop bi-weekly on Tuesdays. If you have any stories that you'd like to share, we would love to hear from you. So please drop a comment below. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe. Daniel Shin produced this episode, and I'm Lily Jamali.